Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Fireside Chat on the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jason Bahamundi, founder of Run, Try, Bike and the Everyday Athlete Clubhouse. I have a super special guest coming on the show today, Molly Hurford, and we will get into a whole host of things that she has done and is doing and plans on doing because she's also connected to some of my favorite people like Dr. Erin Ayala, Marley Blonsky, Stevie Lynn, Jessica Sarah, Hunter Ralston. They're all following her, and I am super excited to have her on the show so we can talk about bikes and books and whatever else we can get ourselves into. But before I bring Molly onto the show, do me a favor. Subscribe, rate, and review the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network on your favorite podcast platform. If you use Spotify or YouTube, drop us a comment. Yes, it's going to help us in the algorithm, and I love that for us. But I also love waking up the day after a podcast episode publishes and I see your comments and I get to interact with you and engage with you. That fills me up as much as anything that we do here on EAPN. Lastly, before we bring Molly on, don't forget to join the Everyday Athlete Clubhouse. It is a private club for endurance athletes that are everyday athletes who are dealing with whatever it is you've got to be dealing with while also staying consistent with your training. We have coaches in there, nutritionists in there, We have everyday athletes in there ready to answer your questions, help you out, pep you up, and then figure out where the next race we're going to be doing together is. If you go to runtrymag.com, scroll over on the header to shop when the drop down hits and you see the Everyday Athlete Clubhouse, click that button, subscribe, and become a member of the Everyday Athlete Clubhouse. We are going strong, and you'll be able to meet us this year as we go about a 6-city tour and participate in 3 marathons, 1 half marathon on the trail, a Beat the Blurch event, as well as Hustle in the Heartland on October 10th in Lebanon, Indiana. I've given you a lot of information. Press pause. Take it all in. Go do the thing and then come back. And when you do come back, Molly will be on the show and we'll be having some fun. So, Molly, how are you?
Hello, I'm so good. I've never gotten to wait in a green room before recording. That was awesome.
I forgot to tell you that when I put you there, if you need to sneeze, cough, you can do it. Nobody's going to hear you.
I love it. Not my first rodeo, so I've got the mute button on my mic ready to go. Got my little guard dog next to me, so if he woofs, I pre-apologize.
Oh, we love
Having a
dogs.
great
We love
evening.
dogs so much at Run Try Bike. We actually have a feature on our website called Your Best Running Buddy, and we feature the dogs of endurance sports athletes. So if you want to submit your dog for the feature, by all means, let's do it.
Oh, DW is an amazing runner. So he's a mini dachshund. He can really only go fast for about, 100 meters. But I invested heavily in the Dogger dog jogging stroller. So it's got full
Okay.
suspension. So he can come on my long runs with me. It's fantastic.
I love it. Before we get started, I do have an icebreaker, even though we just spent 10 minutes talking to each other in the green room. You mentioned that you are from the Northeast, and so I'm very interested in hearing your answer to this question. Pineapple on pizza, yay or nay?
Oh man. So a few years ago, I would have been such a nay, but now
Oh
I
no.
love it. Love it. But okay, here's the caveat. So I live now up in Ontario, so I'm north of Toronto. We have terrible pizza up here. Apologies to anyone from up here that loves the pizza. It is not good. So when I'm home in New Jersey, I would never get pineapple on my pizza when it's pizza from New York or New Jersey. But up here, I will get pineapple all day, every day, because what is up here is loosely considered pizza.
We'll let the answer slide, but you do know that when we post this to all of the socials, the headline is going to be, "Hey Toronto, your pizza sucks," according to Molly.
Oh no. Oh no. Toronto's going to come for me. Sorry, guys.
I think I'd be doing the rage bait thing correctly if I did it that way, right?
Ooh, you know what is fantastic on pizza though? So I have to shout out our mutual friend, Stevie Lynn Smith. So we were doing the book launch for our nutrition book for Young Women Power Up back in November. And she brought in dill pickle pizza for the launch party. And I was appalled first. But when I tell you this was the best thing that I've ever tasted in my life, I'm a convert now. I literally bookmarked where the pizza place is in Buffalo, New York, so that when I'm going from here down to New Jersey, I can stop there and pick it up. It was that good.
So Stevie knows my displeasure with the idea of pineapple on pizza, and so when she brought up dill pickle on pizza, I was immediately a no. But if I'm hearing a convert to dill pickle on pizza, I might have to give it a shot. And it's on white. It's a white pizza base, right?
It's a
not
white
red
pizza.
sauce.
You gotta try it. You just have to. You have to throw caution to the wind. Just put all of your nerves aside and just do it. You won't regret it.
I absolutely will. So I didn't mention, but I will introduce that you are the founder of Strong Girl Publishing. You are also the host of Consummate Athlete, the podcast, while your husband is I guess, host or founder of the coaching side of that business. And you are an author. And that's a lot of accolades. I read that you won a 50K race maybe late last year. Is that correct?
I won a 100-mile race
100-mile
last
race.
year. Yeah. Yeah.
So you have all of these accolades.
Yeah, I'm like, the 100-miler is like regretful right now because just a few hours ago I re-signed up for it again this year to try to like get the course record on it. So I'm feeling very stressy right now.
Well, let's make it look. We'll get easier at the end of the show when we do our rapid fire food questions, so you can laugh and lean into it all. But for now, I want to ask you one question that we ask on just about every single episode that we do on the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network, which is, who is Molly Hurford?
Oh boy, just a casual, easy start to the thing. Oh my goodness. I mean, honestly, at my core, I'm a writer. Being an author was the only thing that I ever wanted to do since I was probably 2 years old. The athlete side of things really didn't come in until I was in my 20s. I keep saying I was a late in life athlete, but now at 38 years old, I'm like, oh no, I've been an athlete for like half my life at this point. So I can no longer be like, I'm new to athletics. But it wasn't the first part. So I always lead with, I'm an author. I love words. I love writing books. I love helping other people tell their stories. That's why we do the podcast. That's why I started Strong Girl Publishing, was because I wanted to have all these other women telling their stories. Yeah. And then I'm a dog mom to this little tiny terror that's actually passed out next to me.
I've always, when we ask that question, it's so fascinating to hear people's responses. We've had people who will start out with, I'm a father, I'm a son, I'm a dad, I'm an author. Other people who start out with, I'm a runner. And it's always interesting to me, like that first thing that comes out is usually the thing that they most strongly identify with. And it makes total sense, right? If you wanted to be a writer at the age of 2, you've become an author and you're now a publisher helping other people write and publish books as well. When you were 2, maybe not at that age, but as you were moving through life, was the idea of helping other people become authors also part of that story? Or was it after you became an author that you were like, I want to help others, accomplish this too, because it feels good to get my words on paper and out there?
Yeah, it's very akin to crossing a finish line at like an Ironman or some other kind of ultra endurance event, as far as when you finally, hit save on the final version of a book, for sure. Honestly, though, I will say the idea for helping other young women tell their stories really didn't come to me until after I was sort of struggling myself with where I was going with publishing books. I had the Shred Girls books. I loved them. They were doing like reasonably well as far as a very, very niche book could possibly do. But I was, talking to my agent, I was talking to other traditional publishers, and they were telling me that books about girls in sport just weren't selling at the numbers that they were willing to like sign books for.
What year was this?
Time, so this is 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay.
So, and even now, I mean, traditional publishing is in a very weird place. Like, let's just be clear. It's completely understandable in a lot of ways, because an editor who gets a book is on the hook for that book doing well and bringing in a profit. And in a big company, that looks like selling tens of thousands of books, if not hundreds of thousands. So I do understand. But at the same time, I'm trying to figure out what to do with my books. And I'm having these young women come to me because they know me from racing. They know me from coaching camps that I've done, stuff like that. And they're saying, oh, I have this idea for a book. How do I write it? How do I get published? And I didn't really have a great answer for them because self-publishing is, as you know, as someone who's started a media conglomerate here, it ain't easy. It looks cool on the internet. It doesn't even look cool on the internet. It's really hard. It's really freaking hard to do well. And especially to do well, right? Like self-publishing, you can figure out how to get something up, but to get something good up is quite difficult. And there's so many hoops to jump through, all this kind of stuff. But at the same time, I'm someone who has a book have books that have been traditionally published, and I'm getting told that these ideas for books that I have aren't going to sell, so they're not going to sign me. So I'm like, there's really not a lot of space in traditional media for these women either. Maybe I could kind of solve this for for all of us if I start my own thing. So Strong Girl Publishing was born, and I realized just how much I actually love working with other women authors. It is so fun. Like I get to talk to our mutual friend Marley Blonsky once a week. I was on a call with Misha Powell, this Canadian track Olympian. We did her book Sprinting Through Setbacks last summer, and we still talk once a month about, oh, hey, what are we doing for book promo? How are we doing this? What kind of new social media campaign can we do together? My other author of the Mirror Diaries, a researcher at the University of Toronto, Vanessa Kuhlbeck, her book just came out last week. So we're in the middle of planning a launch party for that. And obviously dill pickle pizza at Stevie's party. How do you beat this life, right?
I have so many questions running through my head right now. So, because you're an entrepreneur, right? And you're also, for lack of a better term, the way I'm thinking of this is you're a coach, because you're working with these authors and you're moving them towards a finish line, and you're cajoling, and sometimes you have to be tough, I'm guessing, and other times you got to be a shoulder to lean on. Hearing that the landscape 5 or 6 years ago and even till today isn't as accepting to women and the stories and the authors that you're looking to talk to, how hard is it for you to tell somebody this is not a good idea for a book? How hard? Because
oh my God. Ridiculously, it's so hard.
Because I would imagine like you want to do everything.
Yeah, absolutely. The good news, I will say, is usually the bad ideas sort of weed themselves out, because here's the thing, writing a book is really freaking hard, as it turns out. So it's easy to come up with an idea. And I mean, good Lord, now thanks to AI, it's easier than ever to come up with a proposal in like 5 minutes if you just type a little prompt in there. But actually writing your own 60,000 words and then editing them and all that stuff, honestly, pretty typically the bad ideas, I'd say 90% of them get weeded out just in the like, cool, if you finish the book, definitely like hit me up and I'll take a look at it. But I'm not willing to help get to that phase of it. They can do it, and then we can have that conversation.
Because I also think like having that honest conversation is also going to help them become a better writer, become a better proposal writer, and on top of it all too, and develop better ideas. Because if we're always, yes, you can, then we never really increase or improve our game, I would say, right?
100%. Yeah. And that's definitely the hardest part, as someone who also is maybe not like the world's best person at taking criticism or being coached. I struggle to give it as well. So that's now we've just really covered like my primary weaknesses. Like this is a job interview here.
I will tell you this. So we have one goal on EAPN, and that is to get the guest to say, that is such a good question. I've never been asked that before. So if we're going down that path, we're ready.
Okay, so I'm gonna caveat that though, because we also didn't touch on the fact I've been a journalist for 20 years too. So I work I write for Bicycling, Runner's World, Canadian Running, Canadian Cycling. I've written for pretty much every cycling publication you can possibly think of. And I remember when I first started, I was interviewing, I'm not going to say their name. I was interviewing a top cyclocross racer. And every time I asked a question, she would say, that's such a good question. And I felt amazing at the end of that interview. I was like, nailed it. I'm the best interviewer in the world. And it wasn't until I was listening to the playback, I was like, oh, these weren't good questions. She was just saying that by default to basically give herself a pause so she could think about her answer and also make me like naturally then really into whatever she said because it's like, I know it's a good question. That wasn't it? So I'm always like, it's horrible. In 20 years, I'm so jaded. I'm like so skeptical when someone says I've asked a good question. So I'm glad that you're still really psyched on it. This is good. I might have ruined it for you. I'm so sorry.
Not at all. Not at all. I have a running tally on my notebook so that we can produce it at the end of the year as part of our Wrapped.
Oh my God, I love it. You know what? You've rekindled my faith in the good question.
Well, here's the question that popped into my head. You were like, oh, I've written for Cycling Magazine, and you mentioned a lot of bicycle publications and cycling publications, but you also just mentioned that you won a 100-mile running event. So what started first, cycling or running?
Oh, because this is Run, Try, Bike, I'm in a safe space. I can say
100%. Yes.
I was a triathlete.
So was I.
Yeah, that's my dirty secret in like the cycling world, because I mean, cyclists, you can't tell them you were a triathlete. They're like, get out of here. Take your aero bars and get the hell out of this group ride.
Your socks are too low. You're not allowed here.
Yeah, exactly. And I was such a triathlete. My dad was a triathlete back in the 80s. Actually, I can show you. So I keep this picture on my desk. It's a sign that my grandparents and my aunt and uncle and my mom were holding at my dad's last ever triathlon. You can't see my mom in the picture because she is 9 months pregnant with me. I was born 3 days later. I ruined his triathlon career. So, 18 years after that, I finally took up the mantle and picked up triathlon in college. Just kind of on a whim, and really enjoyed it. But it wasn't until my RA at the time was like, oh, you should join the Rutgers cycling team. It'll help you get better on the bike, like better at the bike leg. And I was like, cool, that'll be fun. So I show up to the first group ride with Rutgers cycling. It's like 20 degrees outside Fahrenheit, not Celsius. Still speaking Fahrenheit. Yeah, can't do it. I show up wearing just like a pair of, I don't know, like lightweight tights and a hoodie and like the little marathon, like knit gloves. And that is my cycling winter outfit, because no one told me. I was riding the stationary bike at the gym, for God's sake. Halfway through the ride, the poor guys, they had to stop and start taking off layers that they could lend me. I remember one guy like shoving my sneakered foot into his booties. So I didn't have bike shoes. I had nothing. It was like a year in when they finally gave me my first pair of bike shorts with a chamois in it. And I was like, what the hell is this? Why are you giving me a diaper? I was so confused because no one told me. I was a triathlete. I thought you raced in a bathing suit, for God's sake. I trained in a bathing suit most of the time. Who knew?
Does this phrase resonate with you? I am a runner by talent, but a cyclist at heart.
I would tattoo that on myself. That is so accurate.
Right? It's so me. I love riding my bike. I absolutely love riding my bike, but my talent lies in running, and it doesn't lie in cycling as much as I wished it would.
Yep. You and I 100% have that in common. Like, cyclocross is my greatest love, my greatest passion. It's the sport that I adore. Me racing for 45 minutes in general is terrible. Me racing 45 minutes on a bike is even worse. So I think you're like me, impressed. Ultra endurance running. Just let me go long. Let me eat snacks. Let me go at a relatively slow pace. We're good.
I bought a cross bike years ago, and I was like, I'm getting into this. I can't wait to do it. And I went into the field and I was training, and my heart was beating so fast and my lungs were on such fire. I was like, this is the craziest shit and also the most beautiful thing all at the same time. Unclipping, jumping, carrying the bike,
it
going as
is
hard as you could.
Oh my, it is the best. And so I did race cyclocross for a few years with Rutgers Cycling, and we won the Eastern Collegiate Cycling Conference like 5 years running. So when we won it for the 5th year, me and I think 6 of the guys on the team all went out and got matching cowbell tattoos. So
Nice.
that is the level of like cyclocross and cycling love that I have.
I love it. I want to go back to the author and the publishing for a minute here, because I wrote this note down, and I would be very remiss if we don't get to it during the show, because I've been public with my disordered eating, which has been brought upon by body image. And when I first got into the sport of triathlon, lighter is faster, and I didn't treat my body the way I do today, and developed an eating disorder that I still battle today. And so I know you have a new series out that's about body image. And why is it important for you to publish this series? And while it's Strong Girl Publishing, I presume it's, directed at women, but can men get something out of it as well if they're willing to be honest with themselves? Let's get that part out there too.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, I'll also back up and start with Power Up. So the reason I really wanted Stevie to do a book with me on sports nutrition for young women was because I realized it's great that we're getting girls in sport, both, just all these cool organizations that are doing amazing things to bring girls in. And then obviously, like, what I'm trying to do at Strong Girl Publishing is get girls excited about sport. But if we don't give them the resources that they need once they're in sport, they're going to be seeing things on social media. And currently, like, thin is in again. You and I both got into endurance sports in like the early aughts when, I'm putting huge quotation marks around this, but like eating is cheating was a thing. Yeah. You probably remember every triathlete magazine ever back then had like the what I eat in a day from a pro. And somehow it was like always like a piece of salmon and a salad, and then like the one square of dark chocolate at night as a treat.
Yes. And maybe Greek yogurt.
Oh yeah, huge on no fat Greek yogurt. Like, right. Let's make sure this is 0%. Maybe some berries to sweeten it up. Oh my god.
Right.
Yeah, this is the world that we came up in, and unfortunately, I think a lot of that messaging with like all of this thinspo crap now is coming back around, and young women athletes still don't know how to fuel. They're still, we saw it in the Tour de France Femmes, this whole huge conversation around fueling and REDS and body image, and this idea that we have to be lighter in order to excel. And, unfortunately, sometimes that ends up being like how someone wins a race, and what message does that send to girls, and how do we hold both of those things, that it's not healthy for girls, but also that's what won a race. How do we hold both of those things? And I think part of it is educating them on here's how to actually fuel for the work that you're doing. So Power Up. Then the Mirror Diaries came about because I was talking to this, again, young woman who's a body image researcher. She's really big into the field of self-compassion, confidence, all that kind of stuff. And we were talking about the fact that, especially for middle grade girls, right at the age where they're most likely to drop out of sport, that's also the same age where they start becoming very self-aware and like very aware of their bodies. And you layer sport on top of that, and expectations around not just sport, but then also what does a young woman's body look like? And all of these layers keep adding up and make for girls dropping out of sport, girls having disordered eating if they stay in sport, girls having disordered eating if they're out of sport. It's all a nightmare. But, you can't, like, how do I put this? It's hard to give young women, and especially like middle grade girls, so that like 10 to 13-year-old girl, a nonfiction book that's about body image and self-acceptance and all of that kind of stuff, because they're not going to read it. That's not fun.
Right.
Like, you have a health teacher talk to you in class and says like, you should accept your body for what it is. And you're like, okay, I'm just writing notes to my friend under the table here. But we're like, okay. I started the Shred Girls books and my series about girls on bikes because I was like, how can I get girls who wouldn't otherwise find bikes into bikes? And I was like, well, I was a reader when I was a kid. If you put something in a book, I was going to do it. Babysitter's Club was huge when I was a kid. I babysat because Babysitter's Club was big. Babysitting sucks. Bikes are cool. Very simple math. So my whole thing has been like, if I can write about it, if I can show girls in a fictional, fun way, this stuff about bikes or these tools for learning about body image, learning about self-compassion, figuring out a gratitude practice, all that kind of stuff, but in a fun, fictionalized format. Say that 5 times fast. Then we actually are kind of sneakily teaching girls this stuff in a way that feels fun for them, in a way that feels relatable for them. So the Mirror Diaries Finding Grace is about a young girl named Grace, and it's her journals and like the worksheets that she's doing in school throughout the year that are kind of teaching her about all this stuff. And she's working through all of these problems. And we're seeing her do it. We're not trying to like do it ourselves. Although we do also have the Beyond the Mirror workbook that does have all of the activities in it. So I would say, yes, anyone can, but a man has to be very comfortable in his masculinity, if you will,
please mock him. Please mock him. Like, come on,
to make it
dudes.
through a couple of the exercises. But honestly, all of it totally applies. I think it applies to everyone. I'm a 38-year-old woman and I'm doing this workbook and finding huge benefits from it.
Yeah, I remember when my wife and I were talking and she was like, I think you have a disordered eating situation going on here. This was about 5 years ago or so. I had just gotten divorced and we were dating at the time, my current wife, and we were talking about just life in general. And she was like, I think you have a disordered eating scenario as we were talking things through. And at first I was really hesitant. Well, what do you mean? Like that only has an impact on women. It doesn't impact men. Like, what are you talking about? But the more I sat there and talked about it, the more I realized like, yeah, dude, you were like, I would take pictures and I would show you this perfectly created plate, kind of like back in the day, back in the aughts, right? Here's my triathlon plate. And then meanwhile, I'm in the pantry shoveling donuts into my face because I didn't eat enough to support a 2-a-day workout regimen, or I'm exhausted from having to get up getting ready to get up the next morning and being exhausted. Like, so men, like, I get that you want to be tough, but the reality is pause for a minute and just look at what is happening around you and realize that you might be going through some of these things that we push off on women only. It's happening to us too.
Oh my gosh, 100%. And yeah, it's interesting. I've now had a few of my man friends say this to me and have these conversations with me. I have a friend who's been hospitalized for an eating disorder in the past, and he's still out there doing ultra events. And for him, it is always a very tricky balancing act of doing the sport that he loves that provides all of these mental health benefits and all of this relief and release, but is also so close to being so dangerous for him. And I think that's whether you have a history of disordered eating and eating disorder or not. I think for all of us that are in ultra endurance, we're always kind of on that fine line, right? Like, you can't train for Ironman or 100 milers or anything like that and not be kind of walking that line.
I think the thing that helped pull me through the process too was getting into ultras. And I say this for this reason. In triathlon, we would do the measurement of watts per kilogram, right? We would create that measurement. It was there front and center. And how can I increase my watts per kilogram if my power if my fitness isn't increasing? How do I do it? Well, I can lower my weight. And so you start eating less, and all of a sudden that number on your watts per kilogram starts to go up, and that dopamine hit, you're like, look at me, look at how great I am, right? When I got into ultra running, there was no measurement for that. There was no way of calculating, like there was no thought process to do that. And so then it became, I'm going to eat these Oreos and I'm going to eat these Pop-Tarts and I'm going to eat these Uncrustables and I'm going to enjoy myself. And that is what really helped me get through the early phases of addressing the fact that I had a disordered eating issue.
Oh, yes, 100%. And I mean, the number of young people who are now getting into cycling on, say, a platform like Zwift or MyWhoosh or any of these, where guess what you have to do in order to race on any of these platforms? You gotta not just input your weight, like to do any of the like actual esport racing, which a lot of them, that's how they're actually getting introduced to cycling is this kind of racing, is they have to get on a scale and not just get on a scale, but like video themselves on a scale. So it's time stamped and, picture on the scale. So it's time. I mean, my God, how horrific. Like that just brings back like gym class when you were 12 and they had to do the presidential physical fitness test and everyone's getting weighed and measured at the same time. Oh,
Yeah.
like that's why I hate sports was that test.
What do we like? It's crazy because you mentioned 2020 is when you got started in this whole concept of publishing and starting your business. And now we're talking, basically 5 years later at the start of a 6th year later. And we're still doing things from 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And it's like, why? Like, why are we still going through this process? And one of the questions I was going to ask you earlier, and it fits right into this situation, is in 2020, we had the situation in Minneapolis, which again, we're dealing with another situation in Minneapolis. And there was, the Black Lives Matter movement and the women's movement with the pussy hats, and the marches. And it felt like all of a sudden, it felt like we had momentum for change. And we're here 5 years later and it feels like we're starting all over again. Maybe we're even worse off than we were 6 years ago. And so how do you keep showing up on a regular basis with this idea that I want to get more women on bikes, I want to publish books by women because that is what's important, and that's the thing that's going to also help change people's minds, even though you're getting punched in the face on a daily basis as well, I'm sure.
My jokey answer is, well, I moved to Canada. That's how. Well, Jason, Canada. You know what? I'm going to be honest. Like, we have these problems everywhere. Like, yes, it is incredibly exacerbated in the US right now, but you see these little things start happening up here as well. And honestly, American culture does tend to sprawl out, especially within like North America. So we have these problems too. Also, I'm still American. I still identify as such. So yes, the horrors. We'll leave that at that. Honestly, this is just going to come back to like community. We have so many amazing people that are behind, and I'm sure I say this, I'm speaking for both of us here apparently. I'm like, we have so many people that are behind what both of us do that it would be impossible. Even like the days where I just want to crawl under the bed and just like, or bash my head against the wall because this is not paying the big bucks. This is not even paying the medium bucks. I still, write articles for a living. And part of that is because part of my mission is to make sure that my authors actually make money. So I do take I take basically cover expenses cut and like they get pretty much everything else by the time all is said and done. But I think of it as like a 10 to 20 year plan, not a 5-year plan in terms of where this is going.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you're saying that because I often have conversations with young entrepreneurs who are like, get rich quick. And I'm like, I don't care what business you're starting. Like that just is not going to happen. So you better be prepared for the long haul. Otherwise, don't start a company.
My God, this is the bike industry, sir. We are making no money right now. Let's be real.
But so
I'm lucky to have a roof over my head.
I understand. And like when we get a win, we celebrate, like we celebrate. And I think that also helps us recognize that no win is too small. That small win is, when you keep adding all those small wins up, then the big thing happens. So I think like from my perspective, I'm gonna thrust this upon you, publisher, entrepreneur, endurance sports athlete, like you have to have a great appreciation for where you are in the moment in order to be able to take that next step into tomorrow. Would you agree with that?
100%. Normally, I utterly loathe on podcast, like entrepreneur bros on podcasts that try to equate like running a marathon to starting a business. I'm like, talk to me about a profit and loss statement. Please stop telling me about training and how I just have to run 3 miles every day. That's not even how you train for a marathon. Oh my God.
Right.
So irritating. But unfortunately, they're mostly correct. It's a very apt metaphor. Yeah, I mean, especially with ultra endurance, like we get kicked in the teeth so many times. Like when I was doing the 100 miler we talked about in the beginning of the episode here, I was having a great race. Everything was going well. I got some heartburn at like mile 80. 20 miles to go. I'm in the lead, but I'm so slow right now because I cannot get a good breath in because everything is just burning. And, finally I stop, I puke, and then I'm good. And I run the rest of it. And I win, and it's fine. And I think that's probably a really apt metaphor for trying to run a small business. Is you're just gonna kind of constantly have these moments where you can't really breathe right. Your lungs are hurting, your gut's on fire. You got to stop and puke. Everything feels like it's going downhill, and then something good comes from it.
So how do you balance it all? So I'll preface that question with this. So earlier today, I published 2 episodes for our podcast network, and I have a story that I need to edit and get ready. And that's not getting published to the 25th. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to sit back and relax. I'm going to go check out Molly's Instagram page, see if I can pull some shit down so I can ask her questions and have a good conversation. And I'm not going to worry about the to-dos in this moment because there are so many to-dos we could be to-doing all day and night. So how do you balance it all?
Oh, the age-old question. Man, there's so many ways I could answer this. I'm going to start with the cheesy athlete answer is that I do actually prioritize my training pretty heavily. Partially because that's how I get the best ideas. That's how I get the best mental clarity. It's not to say I perfectly train every single day, but most days I am in fact doing the training that I have, even if it means that some other to-do tasks are left hanging. There's very rarely a day when my to-do list is actually fully checked off. It's why I have wrinkles. I don't know. And I have a very supportive partner who makes my life much easier and tolerates this level of ridiculousness and puts up with the shenanigans and takes the dog for a walk when I can't. But a lot of years of doing this is really just the ultimate answer. Like this is not like an overnight thing. I've been honing my how to write a book, how to write an article, how to record a podcast, how to do XYZ for years. We've had the Consummate Athlete for 8 years now. Every week we have put out an episode. We have not missed one. We recorded the day before our wedding so that we could make sure that we got this interview with we had Dean Golich, who's legendary coach, and he could only do that day, and we really wanted to talk to him, so we were at the wedding venue trying to record. We had no idea what we were doing. It was great. I've written 13 books. I kind of have it down to a relative science at this point. I mean, who knows how good anyone thinks they are, but I think they're all right. Articles, I'm pretty used to interviewing. I said my only issue is when I have a bunch of features due at once. So last week I was working on a feature about GLP-1s and everyday cyclists who are using them. I was also interviewing trail runners who'd raced at world championships. And then also a bunch of experts for the GLP-1 article. So I'd have a person who had lost 100 pounds on a GLP-1 and loves riding their bike. And then suddenly an elite trail runner, and then a doctor. And I had 12 interviews back to back to back to back to back. And then we were hosting a book club that night with Kate Courtney on Zoom. So I had to be ready for that. When I tell you, I didn't know my own name by the end of that day. Accurate.
Your calendar is just blocks, right? Your calendar is blocks everywhere.
Yeah. And there are days like that, but also I work from home. I can work from anywhere. Right. I do not take that for granted. So, frankly, I'm wearing pajama pants right now, and there's days there's not a shower. The training might happen, but the shower doesn't because I had to get on a call, and I'm not in an office, so no one can smell me. So it's fine.
That's right. I wrote down this note, and you kind of alluded to it earlier. So I wrote down this note about mental training for 2026, which was a post you had put up on Instagram. But you talked about going for a run and you prioritize your training, and it's where your ideas come from. So I believe I have solved the world's problems probably 8,000-9,000 times on a run, but I never remember that solution when I'm done. So do you have a way of like record, like, do you stop and voice note it? Like, do you type it? Like, or are you just like me and you're like, man, this is a great idea. I'll remember it when I'm finished. And then when you're finished, you're like, shit, what was that idea?
I've lost so many good ideas that now I'm obsessive about this, to the
Okay.
extent where I have because I also get lots of ideas in the shower. So I got one of those scuba diving boards that like scuba people could write like help out of oxygen on, and I leave that in the shower so I can write down ideas in the shower. That's
Oh,
the
no
level of
way.
obsessive I am about this. But
I
I've
love it.
tried I've tried like a smartwatch, I tried an Apple Watch where I could like record into it. Frankly, none of them work for me. I hate them. I don't do well with voice notes. Voice notes, I can't actually articulate my thoughts that well. Obviously, I'm talking now, but when I'm on the trail, I just cannot do it.
Yeah.
So I have been told by, I was helping a friend. She was going for this FKT on this very, very long route. And I was pacing her and I was trying to text the like vehicle ahead of us to be like, Karen needs XYZ things, ramen noodles, whatever. And she like looked at me and she's like, I have never seen someone who can text and run as well as you can. So I have an innate ability to be able to text while I'm still running, even on a trail, that is just honed from years of not wanting to lose an idea.
So then at the beginning, would you finish when you first started typing the notes? Would you finish and be like, what does this even mean? Because this happened to me the
100%.
other night, right? The other night I woke up in the middle of the night and I was like, oh, I better, so I went to my notes app, I typed. I woke up the next morning and I looked at it and I was like, I have no idea what this is supposed to be.
Yeah, there's a Frasier episode where his dad gets super high and writes down a bunch of ideas, and later he's like looking at them and he's like, dog army? And that's how I feel a lot of the time when I actually look at my notes and these brilliant ideas that are totally going to change the world. Whether it's a misspelling or it's like, no, you were just really bonked at the time. That was just mile 18. That was not a good idea. You were hungry.
So then talk to me about the mental training for 2026. The post, I believe, mentioned Dr. Erin Ayala from Scatty Sports Psychology. Yeah, Dr. Erin is fantastic. We have a handful of articles on our website. She's been a guest of ours on the Fireside Chat a couple of times as well. She does great work. And I believe she just launched a new podcast with Feisty Media maybe a week or two ago.
Yep. Yeah. She is now the host of the Women's Performance Podcast on Feisty. I love the people over at Feisty. They're some of my favorite humans. So Erin over there fits perfectly. Yeah. So a few months ago, I had started working on this concept when I realized that over the course of the summer, I had two big races and had the 100-miler and I had this fastest known time I was going for. And I missed the course record on the 100-miler and I missed the fastest known time by 3 minutes. And hurts. And there were a bunch of things that I can improve on and do differently and all of that. But when I realized, like, when you're looking at a 17-hour run, 3 minutes is like 0.002%. Like, it is such a tiny percent. So I start getting into, like, I'm a cyclist, right? So I'm like, marginal gains. All right, where can we get these? And like, I can't train anymore. I'm already pretty tapped out for my time for that. Okay, the mental side, because I thought I was like pretty mentally tough, but I mean, as we just said, like, I shifted sports from cyclocross, which I find just too hard for me, to the 100-miler because I find it easy for me. It's what my body likes to do.
Yes.
Yeah. So people think it's like wild that you do it or so tough that you do it. And you're like, no, this is just like, this is way easier than running a 5K. I don't know.
I've said it many times. If given the option, I would run 100-miler over of a 5K without even thinking about it.
Oh, yes. Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, okay, I need to work on my mental toughness. So naturally I wrote a bunch of articles about it. And Erin actually had this concept of like, you need to make a training plan that actually is just for your mental training. And that for an endurance athlete, you're suddenly like, oh, this tracks for me.
Right.
So, really leaning into the stuff like the meditating every day that we all know we should do, that we don't do. Let's be realistic here. Things like running without headphones so I can actually hear my thoughts.
That's
them
me.
because
I've almost never run with headphones.
No.
Ever.
Oh, see, I used to be so good at this, and then podcasts happened, and now I love listening to podcasts when I run. Obviously, with one earbud, so I can still hear people around me.
Yeah.
Um, but I realized when I was doing that FKT and I was alone in the woods, I was like, "Oh my god, my thoughts are mean. Like, I am not a nice person to me. I need this Mirror Diaries book really badly." So I actually did a bunch of the exercises in that, and they actually correspond well with what Aaron and Dr. Scott Fry from Cerebral Performance also told me. So we're working on it. We're working on catching the negative thoughts and reframing. And the one I workshopped with Aaron that I really love is the yes and concept of like catching a negative thought, and instead of like going down the negative spiral of like, oh no, I had a negative thought, I'm a bad person for having a negative thought, I'm bad because I think negatively about myself. You see where that's going. It's not very helpful.
No.
But if you can think the negative thought and then go with the improv, like yes and. So, oh my god, I suck right now. Yes and I might be hungry. I might be thirsty. I might just be going up a hill, and everyone sucks going up a hill. I might have a rock in my shoe that I really need to remove. I might need to pee. Let's just call a spade a spade.
Right.
So I think those are sort of my two favorites for like one that I can work on outside of running, outside of racing, is the meditation side, and then the catching the self-talk, and then actually like using it as a springboard into troubleshooting what's actually going on or what could be happening next, rather than just kind of like, oh, I see a negative thought and I'm letting it float away from me. No, what can this negative thought teach me here?
Yeah, I needed Dr. Aaron about 6 or 7 years ago. I had a goal of breaking 19 hours at the 100-mile distance, and the closest I came was 19:11, something like that.
Yeah.
So like 720 seconds, right? So 12 minutes. I was like, 720 seconds over the course of 19 hours is nothing, like literally nothing. If every aid station was 30 seconds less time spent at an aid station, you make all of that up and you're golden, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then that's, as you're talking, I'm thinking to myself, if I would have had the yes and mindset back then, okay, yes, you missed it by 12 minutes and you could improve by doing this, then all of a sudden you start, instead of like trying to nitpick myself, right? Instead of literally trying to nitpick myself at where 720 seconds lies.
Exactly. It's problem solving versus nitpicking. So still the same thought, just how do we actually use it and work with it rather than just feel bad about it?
The wild thing is this year we're doing this run club tour that I mentioned in the opening intro. And I'm not doing any ultras this year, racing 3 marathons. And I'm scared, or I was scared at the outset. Like, so we talked about 5Ks versus 100 milers. And these are the first standalone marathons I'm running in 14 years. And so it's just, the training is different. It feels different. Like all of it is different. So having these problem solving skills, talking to athletes like yourself, entrepreneurs like yourself, and picking up your habits is what's helping me get through a lot of these things of, okay, do the yes and how do you do the meditation and do the yoga stuff and sit in silence. And when you go for a run, don't wear your earbuds anymore. Like just go back and just, process the stuff. So I think this episode wound up being more helpful for me than it is for you at this point.
No, I loved it. This is so much fun. Oh my gosh. Like the dog just like woke up here too.
I love it. DW, you said, right?
Yes.
Is it short for anything?
Yes, his legal name is Darkwing. So you might remember the early 1990s cartoon show Darkwing Duck.
Yes.
If folks don't remember, Darkwing Duck was a duck-themed, like Batman-style superhero. So he thought he was really good at being a superhero, but like he kind of sucked. Like the whole show is really about him being a bad superhero or being like fairly incompetent. Dachshunds are dogs that think that they're amazing at being dogs, but the reality is they are very bad at being dogs. So he's DW.
Awesome. I'm going to move us into our rapid fire food questions here. But before we do that, and this stuff will get dropped in the show notes, where can people find you, your podcast, your business, all of that stuff?
Yeah, at Molly J Hurford on Instagram is probably the easiest place to drop to because I have links to all of the different things from there. Strong Girl Publishing is at Strong Girl Publishing. Consummate Athlete is at Consummate Athlete. And I am very easy to find on the internet. I apologize for how many articles that there are that I have written.
You gotta keep that roof over your head.
You did such a good intro. I always say, like, I once was on a radio show out of Edmonton and they tried to read like a bio that they'd written. And by the time they got to the end of the bio, because for some reason they decided to include like every detail about me, and they got to the end and they're like, well, and we're out of time. Do you want to say a word about cycling? I'm like, wear a helmet, folks. Like, that was all.
Right. And then what kind of questions would they be able to ask after they just read off your entire resume?
It was supposed to be like cycling safety in the city kind of thing, but like it was a very public radio kind of vibe where they didn't really know what they were not doing. That's unfair, but someone handed them like a bio of me and they're like, well, we're just going to read this out loud, and I'm well in time.
The best part, so your bio on Instagram just has everything. So honestly, folks, go to her bio on Instagram and it's all there. Links to Strong Girl Publishing and Consummate Athlete are right there. Like, you don't have to go fishing for things. They're literally all right there. And it makes it a lot easier to find all the stuff that you're involved in and who you're connected to, because I saw pictures of Stevie and I saw pictures of Marley on your feed on Instagram. So, and I had already known that you were working with them. So it was really cool because we had Marley on maybe a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago, because her book did it get published, or is in the midst of being published?
Ragtag Best Friends Bicycle Club, coming soon. It comes out at Sea Otter. So if anyone is at Sea Otter, we're going to be there and it's going to be super fun.
It's so cool because it's a children's book and about, it's literally ragtag kids getting together. So not everybody looks the same, and you're getting more people involved in cycling and storytelling from that perspective to learn a lot of things, which is really, really cool.
It's so cute. It's so cute. I'm so excited for it.
Are you ready for our rapid fire food questions?
I'll do what I can.
Which, by the way, take your time to answer. I've been doing this for I think 200 episodes for the Fireside Chat, and I keep saying I'm going to come up with a new name than rapid fire food questions because I really don't care if people answer them really fast. I just want them to answer the questions.
All right, let's do that.
Here we go. We already took care of pizza. So next on the list, Oreos. Are you an old school Oreo fan? Double stuff, loaded, golden, thin, or cakester?
Peanut butter. Boom.
As in
they make a double. Yeah, they make a double stuff with peanut butter filling. It's fantastic. And I tell you, I had a strong Oreo phase because Oreos are disgustingly vegan, and I had a vegan phase back in college. So I ate many Oreos. I was a connoisseur at that point.
We are an Oreo friendly show and community, and I've been trying my damnedest to get Mondelez to collaborate with me on the Oreo 100, which I have designed. It would start in Oceanside, California, finish in Redondo Beach. So the O for Oceanside, the RE for Redondo, and then the finish line arch would get you into the Pacific Ocean. And we would just have Oreos at all of the aid stations all along the way. Somehow Mondelez keeps missing out on my emails.
They're lost. They're lost.
Yeah. So how do you eat your Oreo? Are you a peel and chew? Are you a dunker? What's the process?
I mean, it depends on the situation. If I'm in a perfect scenario, I've got like my cup of coffee over here, I've got my tiny glass of milk, and I'm dunking.
Okay.
I'm enjoying my coffee. That's the ideal.
Are you a fan of Peeps, or are they just awful dust balls covered in glitter?
Oh, okay. This is like embarrassing. I'm actually probably more of a fan of like a slightly stale Peep than I am of like a fresh Peep.
I've heard that way more than I can count on the number of times people have told me that on this show.
This just must be like a tactile thing. I don't know. That said, I'm like much more of a jelly bean person if it's like an Easter basket situation that I'm picking out of. Yeah.
You're a Jelly Belly? You had the Jelly Bellies and the wonderful flavors?
Oh no, I want the garbage jelly beans. Like, Jelly Bellies are too fancy for me. Give me like the 6 flavors. Just the white ones are the best. Like the red ones are like a close second.
What do you do with the black licorice ones?
Depends on the day. I mean, honestly, if someone else is gonna eat them, fantastic. I feel bad throwing things out, so I'd eat them if I have to, but if I can palm them off on somebody else and be like, "Here's the goth jelly beans, you have those." Perfect.
Candy corn. Is candy corn a real candy or is it earwax covered in sugar?
Okay, I freaking love candy corn. If I'm hiking, I do a thing where I have like my 2 front pocket things, and one pocket has trail mix and the other pocket has candy corn. So I'm just snacking on both of them all day, and it's the best.
So we had Corey Waltering on this show maybe a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. And I asked him the Peeps question, and he was like, "Oh no, I absolutely love Peeps. They're probably my second favorite candy." And I said, "Well, then if they're your second favorite, what's your favorite?" And he said, "Candy corn." And I have never laughed so hard on this show because I'm anti-Peep and anti-candy corn. And here's Corey Waltering telling me that he loves both of those two candies. I don't know what the odds are, but he hit them.
Fantastic.
Red velvet cake. Is red velvet a real flavor, or is it just chocolate cake dressed up to go to the prom?
It's chocolate cake dressed up to go to the prom. My sister's a baker. She would argue
Yes, she would.
strenuously for like a
Yes.
difference. And having grown up working in Jersey diners, I would argue strenuously if I was trying to serve a customer some red velvet cake because I think we charged more for it than the chocolate cake. So I'd probably be
Yes.
trying to like upsell that shit.
As a baker, it is because it's got alkalized cocoa and it absolutely is a different product. But when you go to like Stop and Shop or ShopRite and you get the sheet cake version, that is just red food dye, and they're charging you an extra $8 for it. Let's be honest.
Oh, I love an East Coast reference to ShopRite. Just makes my heart sing.
I interviewed a guy by the name of Vittorio about a month ago, and he's in Philly. And he was like, "Yeah, so when I go to ShopRite," and I was like, "Wait a minute," because I live in LA, by the way. I was like, "Wait a minute. I haven't heard ShopRite in like 30 years."
Oh my gosh. My family's a ShopRite family. We have one like 10 minutes from us in Jersey. And when I tell you my dad goes there 2 to 3 times a day somehow, it's ludicrous. Like if he's not in the house, you're like, "Where's dad?" He's at ShopRite.
Of course.
We stan a ShopRite in the Hurford household.
Peanut butter and jelly. Are you a fan? Yay or nay?
Oh, yay. Absolutely yay.
Okay, so how do you make your peanut butter and jelly? I'm going to give you some options. Do you put peanut butter on one side of the bread and then jelly on that same side and then fold over? Or do you go peanut butter on one side, jelly on the other, and then smash them together?
I've never thought about the second way to do it. That feels like it'd be a cleaner knife situation. Um, I'm definitely a like peanut butter and then layer the jelly on top of it kind of gal.
Yeah, same way. So then how do you cut your peanut butter, or do you just peanut butter and jelly sandwich, or do you just eat it? Do you cut it into 2 rectangles? Do you cut it into 2 triangles? Do you go 4 squares, or do you go 4 triangles?
Ooh. So, like many millennials during the pandemic, I started baking sourdough bread and I have not
Oh,
stopped. So, I exclusively eat my peanut butter and jelly on sourdough now, but I'm incapable of cutting it in like large slices. So basically, we have to like cut it in half and then slice the half. So I would basically make 2 separate halves that would end up being a sandwich size, if that makes sense.
I like it. Do you get a little bit out of the box and sometimes either toast the bread in the toaster first, or like grill it like a grilled cheese to get a little crunch on your
Whoa.
PB&J?
Whoa, 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 whoa. No, if I'm toasting, it's butter and jam. We're not messing with peanut butter in that case.
Are you
Crazy
you're
talk.
you're a grilled cheese fan?
Huge, yes.
Do you have a method for making a grilled cheese?
I did not until we were home for the holidays, and my sister actually used pesto instead of butter on one of the sides.
Okay.
And then you can even dip it in a little like marinara. So this is like
Yeah.
fancy
Yeah.
bougie grilled cheese
Pinkies
if
up.
you're feeling. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So I tell this to people who are grilled cheese fans. This is how I make mine. So instead of using 100% butter, I put a little bit of butter in the 4 corners, but in the field of the bread, I use mayonnaise. And so that you
Oh,
get a
I've
little,
heard that.
yeah, so you get a little bit of that tanginess from the mayonnaise when you bite into it. But the other thing I
Ooh.
do is I toast the bread on both sides, and then before I flip it back onto the original side, I put shredded cheese down in the pan and then put the bread on top of it so that shredded cheese gives you an outer layer of cheese. So you have cheese, bread, cheese, bread, cheese.
Whoa. Okay, so that's some next level. I love it. And okay, I'm going to slam Canada again real quick. Did you know up here they put ketchup on their grilled cheese, which just seems unhinged. As someone who loves ketchup, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I would never do that. Never in a million years.
Nonsensical.
Your favorite chocolate candy is?
Oh, Reese's, but only in the holiday shapes.
Okay. It's always my favorite answer. And I've been told, I don't have a discernible palate when it comes to Reese's, but I've been told that the peanut butter is slightly different in the holiday shapes than it is during the regular times.
It's got more salt in it. I've looked this
Okay.
up. The sodium's actually higher.
Oh, really?
So I think, yeah. And it's something about the ratio too. So it's just like a little less chocolate on the side. So you don't get that like really thick chocolate like side
Yes.
that you do with a traditional Reese's. So yeah, I'm someone who like the day after any holiday, I go to every grocery store and I try to stock up when they're like 50% off. So our entire fridge right now is just like Reese's trees.
Have you seen the Reese's Oreos collaboration?
I have not. I'm going to have to check this out.
Yes, go check it out. The Reese's peanut butter cup is better than the Oreo with the Reese's peanut butter filling.
Okay.
Insight. Your favorite non-chocolate candy is?
Ooh, probably gummy bears, I guess.
Yeah, it's a good choice. I'm surprised as an ultra runner you didn't immediately go to Nerd Cluster since that's been the non-chocolate candy du jour.
Cliche. Derivative.
I love it. Oh my goodness, I love it. Okay, last question for you. Tray of brownies has come out of the oven. It's sat on the counter long enough that you can cut into it without making a total mess. Are you going corner? Are you going edge? Or are you going middle for the ooey gooey?
I'm gonna say middle if anyone else has made it, but I'll go edge if I've made it because I pull them out so early that the middle is gonna take a very long time to solidify. And I get the corner like right while it's still soft enough to just be like chewy, but not at all hard. So generally a center.
Any toppings on your brownies? Do you go pecan, walnuts, ice cream? What are you doing? Anything?
I'm a purist, just a brownie purist.
Are you?
To come back to my vegan days,
Yes.
did you know you can substitute applesauce instead of eggs, and they actually turn out medium delicious if you use the Duncan Hines one?
Yeah, you got to go box. I mean, I'm not a baker, so I got.
No, and like my sister will never listen to this, so I can totally say it. The box ones are better than any fancy ass ones that any baker is going to make, and I include my sister, who I love very much, in this thing.
Take that, sis.
Sorry, Colleen, I love you so much.
Oh, actually, not the last question. I forgot to ask you your favorite flavor of ice cream.
Ooh. Vanilla peanut butter, but only from Turkey Hill, which you really only can get in New Jersey.
Yeah. And the peanut butter is a swirl in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that how they do it? Yeah.
Yeah, but you have to salt it. The key is you got to salt it.
That's a great choice.
People make fun of me all the time, but like I will have a salt shaker next to my ice cream, and inevitably someone near me will be like, "Oh, you know what? Like that seems gross. Let me try it." And then everyone tries it, and they're like, "This is way better." So everyone salt your ice cream. Electrolytes are trendy right now, so lean in.
I mean, there's a reason if you put on the Food Network, they're always like, "You got to put salt in this because it enhances flavor." Like, come on, people. Right?
Morton Salt once sent me a necklace that says salty. And
no way.
I love them. And they really should
that's
sponsor
so
me.
Cool. Let's make it happen, Morton's. Molly, thank you so much for joining me. I've had a blast chatting with you and getting to know you. I will leave the opportunity to come back on the show if you've had a good enough time after you complete your 100 miler, and we can talk about all the things that went into your training and your success on that day.
All of the snacks, really. It'll just be a snack-based episode. I would love to come back. I've had so much fun.
Okay, so in that case, I'm putting you on the spot. We actually do a show called Food Fight Friday at the aid station. If you are interested in it, I will connect with you and have you on. It's about a 15-minute show that's co-hosted by Adam Lee of Community Trail Running and I. And what we do is we present you with a scenario, mile 74, and we present you 3 different food options. And it's just like the fuck, marry, kill game. You have to eat one, you have to toss one, and you have to carry one. So if you're interested, I will send you the invite.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Absolutely. This will be the hardest podcast I've ever been on. I'm going to have to like pre-game, like someone's going to have to like set up crew stations on my next long run so I can practice. It's going to be fantastic. I'm ready.
I might have to. Wait, so you're in Toronto, so it could be a Toronto Buffalo mashup of foods because I can use Stevie's dill pickle pizza. Well, poutine isn't necessarily Toronto, but we can say
But
Canadian.
it's delicious.
Yeah. So
There we go.
we'll come up with
props to Canada. I love poutine. I've been so mean this whole show. I love Canada. I love poutine.
Just no ketchup on that poutine. And we're good.
Atrocious.
Thank you so much for joining us, Molly, and thank you for joining us on Food Fight Friday at the Aid Station.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so much fun.
Chat with you soon. For those of you that have stuck around for this entire episode, thank you so much. Time is the greatest gift that we can give to each other, and you gave me the gift of your time, so thank you so much. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network on your favorite podcast platform. If you're on Spotify or YouTube, please be sure to leave a comment so that we can reply to it, and it really helps us out. Next week, we'll have Jeffrey Weiss on, who is a repeat customer of the Fireside Chat, and I can't wait to get into all things running and mindset with him. So appreciate you hanging out with us. We'll see you next week on the next Fireside Chat.